All right, folks, good afternoon, good morning, good evening. Welcome aboard the Max Afterburner podcast, sponsored, powered by No Fallen Heroes. Matthew Buckley, call sign Wiz, folks. What a great week. This time next week, I will be on a plane with my beautiful bride heading down to Awaken Your Soul down in Costa Rica for just an absolutely incredible healing journey, continuing my own personal healing journey. My wife and 4 other veteran fighter pilots, 2 of which who are female, and I just could not be more thankful. I actually flew this morning, man. I flew Jack Doyle. What a great American, man. Just a Southie. If you listen to episode 40-something, upper 40s, you met Justin Lepre and his beautiful bride. So Justin was also a Marine. Fallujah, no shit, Fallujah, Battle of Fallujah, blown up, awful stuff. Justin Lepre runs the Heroic Path to Light Church in Austin, where I believe we're going to be doing a healing journey in Austin. Here's a crazy concept. How about we heal Americans in America? Right? The fact that I'm having to take veterans to Mexico or Costa Rica it's a crime. Well, it's a crime in America. That's why we're having to do it, but it's a crime. We have to do that, and that's going to end. But Justin Lepre, so Jack Doyle is the Duke brothers, and Justin Lepre is Eddie Murphy in Trading Places. So Justin was a homeless Marine, former Marine. Jack kind of scooped him off the streets homeless and gave him a job on Wall Street, man, and the rest is history. So Jack Doyle's just an absolutely incredible human being, and he's a hockey player. And Jack Doyle grew up with Bobby Orr, one of the greatest players of all times, and obviously the greatest defenseman of all times, and Jack O'Callahan, the OC, obviously from the 1980 Miracle on Ice, Miracle team that beat the Soviet Union. So Jack hooked me up about a week and a half ago, and our family up with Bobby Orr and the OC in the Top Gun option suite, man, as we played Boston. So it was absolutely an incredible night, a God moment. Bobby joined us with his awesome son, grandkids, and what a group of great Americans. I haven't had a better night in my life in ages. And it obviously was a better night because the Panthers beat Boston. And of course, you all who know me, I'm not a good winner. But it was great. So I owe Jack Doyle a flight, and I literally just landed a little bit ago, and Jack did great. Jack was kind of a G monster. Maybe got a little sick at the end, but that's between us ladies. So great week so far. Tech earnings, Jerome Powell speech on Wednesday went from, no kidding, a hawk to a dove. It was like 2-minute hawk to a dove, rip your face off rally out of the market. And then we had Apple and Amazon earnings shit the bed last night. So really interesting in the market. I haven't had a market podcast in a while, just because, no offense, I love talking about saving lives and changing lives and doing the Lord's work, so to speak, and putting the ladder down. And that continues today with an incredibly special guest. So last week you had another obviously incredibly special guest, our beautiful inside and out medicine woman, our director of medicine operations, Nicole Fox. And Nicole told me, you have got to meet this guy, Michael Sabato. He is just an incredible veteran human being, has an incredible story. And I'm really figuring out a lot about the medicine work. It's kind of like the mafia, right? When the mafia says he's a friend of ours, he's a made man, right? And it's kind of in the military. Quick story. In fighter aviation, in naval aviation, 2 sentences will define an entire man or woman's existence. If somebody tells me, hey, he's a good shit, I don't have to ever meet the guy. He's my best friend for life. If you go, that guy's a fucking idiot, the guy's a fucking idiot. So when Nicole says, you have got to talk to this guy, he's an incredible soul, done. I said, Mike, you got to join me in my podcast. Mike joined the Marines out of high school in 2001. Kind of sound like an interesting time to join the Marines. 2001. Served from October of '01 through '05 as a working dog handler and doing explosive detection, man. That's literally the tip of the spear, folks, with 2 combat tours in Afghanistan under his belt, and then kind of pitched back into the fight as a contractor for about a year, 2012, 2013, 100% disability rating, service connected, obviously, with PTSD, unfortunately, in 2019. And we're probably going to have to dig into that journey because usually the VA experience isn't. That probably was a little bit of a fight. And then he stepped into the medicine at where I'm going to step into next week at Awaken Your Soul back in January of 2020, and then did another retreat in 2021. So my brother Mike, welcome aboard the Max Afterburner podcast. Glad to have you, my brother. Welcome.
Hey, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, bro. So, and you're up in Jersey right now, which is great. Are you an Eagles fan or what are you?
You know, you just said that you're not a good winner. Neither am I. I definitely bleed green. So go Birds.
Go Birds, man. Going to be a good game too. I'm looking forward to that. And people, I got invited to a bunch of Super Bowl parties, and then Susie elbowed me. She's like, "We're going to be in Costa Rica. You're not going to be there." And then I looked at Susie and I said, "Actually, I'm going to be everywhere in Costa Rica." So we actually will be at the Super Bowl technically, but bro, I don't even know where to start, but I'd like to start in 2001. When you graduated high school, was this before or after 9/11, and what kind of pushed you or drew you into the Corps?
You know, it's really funny. I was an athlete in high school and I hated school. My parents, coincidentally, were both Marines, but they were teachers. My entire life, they've been teachers.
Wow. And
never have they ever pushed military or talked military in any way, shape, or form. Uh-huh. I would see my dad's coat. He had a Marine Corps jacket and whatever, but they were not like gung-ho military people.
Yeah.
So when I was graduating high school, my dad had a G90 program. Graduate, you got 90 days to either go to college, get a job and pay rent, or figure it out. But you got to get out of here.
I love that. That's good.
So I was, we had recruiters around the high school, unfortunately. And I said, I'm an athlete. I'm going to join the Marine Corps. I want to do the hardest physical thing I can do.
Good man.
You know, and I thought, my rationale behind it was if I decide that I like the military, I want to go to the Air Force later, I would get a promotion. But if I start at the Air Force, I'm going to have to go back to boot camp if I decide to go to the Marine Corps again. Yep. So I went right to the Marine Corps.
Mm-hmm. Wow. When in 2001 was that?
I was actually supposed to deploy to boot camp in July, but I almost broke my ankle. So they had to push me back to October. So I was in the DEP program when 9/11 happened.
Wow. Holy crap, man. So you're in the Marines and you see the towers coming down, and that probably
I wasn't even there yet. I was still in Alaska. I didn't actually go to boot camp.
Oh, you hadn't even been. Oh, Jesus God, man.
Right.
Wow.
Right.
All right. So
month after,
as you're going through boot camp, I'm sure the training was probably pretty intense. Like, hey man, we're going, you joined right as the war essentially started.
Yeah, you could definitely feel that there had been a recent shift in how they were training.
Wow. Okay. So talk us through ending up on your combat tours in Afghanistan. Did you select to be a working dog handler, and how'd that go?
The universe has a funny way of working itself out. When I initially signed up, when I was supposed to leave
or not,
yeah, no. In my case, even when it doesn't work out, it's you end up where you're supposed to be.
That's what I meant. It's actually not funny. The universe is working out exactly how it's supposed to. Yeah,
right, Agreed. right. So when I signed up for the DEP program. When I was initially joining, I was supposed to leave in July. I was supposed to be security forces. I wanted to go be fast company.
Yeah.
And almost broke my ankle. They couldn't hold my spot in school. So my second choice was being an MP.
Okay.
So I thought, if I'm going to be in the military, why not take a car to where I'm going rather than walk like everybody else? So, and then in MP school, they had a board open for the top 10. If you were in the top 10% of your class, you could compete for the slots that were open for K9. There were 6 slots available.
Okay.
There were about 90 of us competing, and I got one of them.
Oh, wow. That's awesome.
Just real. There was something else at play when I busted my ankle.
Yep.
There was something else at play. So it set me up. Busting my ankle set me up for the rest of my life.
Okay. So talk us through your combat deployments, K9, frontline. Tell us about some of your combat experiences.
Yeah, I went January of 2004 rather. I did my first deployment as an explosive detection dog handler. My assignment was in Kabul, stationed at the embassy there.
Oh, geez.
On the way out, that's where we were centrally located, but we deployed out of there to do other things. Yeah. So, we hit some Kandahar, a lot of Bagram up in there. But we were more in the northern part of the country.
Okay.
So a lot of my experience was more around Kabul in that area than anything else. We didn't venture off more than an hour outside of there, but it was pretty heavy. I was very fortunate in my role that I was in a preventative capacity. I'm there looking for explosives to ensure the protection of the facilities, ensure protection of the events that we were going to. But we had some really motivating and what I think are fond memories for me. We opened up 23 public schools while we were there. We were there for the first time women were allowed to engage in democratic voting. There's a lot of really, really cool stuff that happened in 2004 that I was able to be a part of. But a lot of that was high profile stuff too. Colin Powell was there. Donald Rumsfeld was there. We had to do all of their sweeps, all of their pre-sweeps. And, so it was they, in the military, the term pucker factor.
Yeah.
So, and for those of you who are listening or watching who don't know, it's when you're in a situation and, am I allowed to cuss on this?
Sure.
On this,
I fucking do.
It's when your asshole goes. And when you're in the first time and you're in a convoy for an hour, driving down the street, driving down the roads of Afghanistan, and you see people approaching your convoy on the sides, and that pucker factor sticks in, and you get into it. Yeah.
Sucking up a seat cushion is what we sometimes say.
Part of the vehicle at that point.
Wow. So 2 tours, you went, you came back and you went again, man. Was the second one harder, more intense? What was the difference between the 2?
No, I wouldn't say it was harder or more intense. I would actually think it was easier if I'm just looking back on it because I knew what to expect.
True.
We deployed as individuals, me and a counterpart and our dogs. And then we attached to a grunt unit there. Okay. And so then we're part of that grunt unit, but our chain of command is me, my sergeant, or whoever my subordinate is, me, and then like the XO.
Oh, wow.
So I don't fall in line with the grunts, but we attach to their units. We go on their missions. We do that, that journey.
Okay. So transitioning out of the Marine Corps, what did you want to do? What was and why didn't you make it a career? Was there any, did you want to stay? Oh, I know. I have to ask though, right?
So towards the end of my 4 years, I'm not your stereotypical Marine in the sense that I was never very, I didn't really have a lot of macho in me, right? I'm very grounded. I'm logical. I think I have a good balance of masculinity and femininity, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I can tap into both. And when you're in that world, it is a very masculine, do or die, fight for your life environment. Even when it's not, right? And so even when you're stationed at home in San Diego, and you're done working for the day and you're out with your buddies at the bar doing whatever it is you're doing, it's still a very macho, competitive place to be. And that was never really my MO. That was never really my personality. Mm-hmm. So I clashed a lot. And I tended to be an outlier. As much as I did fit in with everybody, I also didn't at the same time.
I get it.
That and I don't deal well. I've never been good at tact. That's never been my shtick when it comes to listening to orders and authority. Like if I think you're telling me something stupid, I'm going to tell you that I think it's stupid. And as an E3 and E4, that doesn't always go over. Right.
Correct.
So towards the end of my tour, they start playing fuck games with you, and I'm just like, I'm out.
I'm good.
So yeah. And in 2005, unfortunately, I'm in the first wave of military personnel getting out at that time, because all of the people that were supposed to be getting out got put on stop, hold, stop loss, right? Stop, move, stop loss.
Yep.
So we were all getting out together around the end of 2005 for the first time, and the resources were not there. Mm-hmm. The military was not preparing us for exiting a combat military career as a 22-year-old.
Wow. Yep.
And re-entering back into civilian life.
Man. Right. Common theme. I mean, this is the same thing Justin Laprise said. Same time he was getting out 0405. He was a Fallujah guy, and it was just like, hey, man, there's the door. There's the streets. Talk to us about that transition. How hard was it, coming back to, quote, normal or real life?
Well, I had been conditioned at that point to play the suck it up game, right? Mm-hmm. And deal with it. And that's what it is. These are your options. Either you stay and we give you a trash bonus and a shitty work assignment, or you get out. Good luck. Pepsi will hire you. You can go drive a truck somewhere. You can go work at Walmart. Yep. Those were literally in the TAPS and TAMPS classes that we get for those 2 weeks. Mm-hmm. That's essentially that's summed up, right?
Yeah.
So my buddy had reenlisted and he went to the schoolhouse in San Antonio. I followed him, but I got out, right? Mm-hmm. And then I found it very difficult to make a living. And I was there for maybe 6 months. I couldn't pay the rent. I didn't know that if I had anything available to me through the military. At that point, the post 9/11 bill did not exist. We were still on the Montgomery GI Bill.
True.
Which was not lucrative at all. That was essentially, you pay for college, we reimbursed you, and you get whatever's left over.
Yes, exactly.
And so that wasn't really an appealing option to me. So I moved in with my sister I lived in a motorhome in my sister's driveway for a year, because I couldn't afford anything else. And now that I'm telling you that story, that's the first time that I realized I was like on the verge of homelessness.
Wow.
Had I not had some sort of support system.
Family. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And how fortunate am I? Because how many veterans do you know that join the military because they don't have another option?
Yeah.
Right. So when they're getting out, sometimes that's the street is the option.
Yeah. Now
so I was very, very fortunate.
Now you start to know where these numbers come from, the 22 a day or the anywhere between 22 and 44. It starts to make a little bit more sense, especially if you got a VA saying, by the way, all those injuries, not service related, or you're sitting there trying to fight them. How was your experience with the VA?
Oh, horrible. On my exit exam, the exit physical, I claimed everything. I claimed everything I could think of that happened to me in the military outside of emotional damage. Mm-hmm. Right? Because again, suck it up.
Yeah.
Right. You don't talk about that stuff. That's not stuff you talk about. That's it. And if your strength is in showing that you're strong, not in actually being strong.
Exactly.
So getting out, they denied everything. Not even 0% connected.
Wow.
Right. Just denied. Right. It took me, I got out in 2005. It took me until 2014 to get a service connection, because that was the first time that I decided to claim my PTSD, to open up about it. Because they refused all of my appeals for the physical injuries that I have. The entire right side of my body is, 80. I'm 40. The right side of my body is 80.
Yeah.
And deny. So I said, I have to do something. I have to get the help somewhere. And that was what really, put the gas on the fire, was the VA being such pricks,
It's heartbreaking, man. It just, it's awful. We're not going to be able to solve that here, but so talk to me. So you fight the man, so to speak, and you get your disability rating. Let's talk through, when did the first medicine enter your mind, your consciousness? Do you hear about it? Because one of the sentences I always tell people that I thought was bullshit before I actually know it's true now was, the medicine calls to you. When did this work even enter your consciousness?
All right. You're talking about the plant medicine, right? Because I've been anti-medication my whole life. Because when I was young, diagnosed with ADHD, and that's a whole thing on its own. I hated it and whatever. So getting this diagnosis of PTSD, I was definitely still like, I don't want to be on meds. I'm terrified of not being me.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Right. So, interestingly enough, while I was contracting, when I was on my R&R, I decided to go to professional baseball umpire school.
Oh, no way.
And it was a 6-week break in my R&R, and something I always wanted to do. I grew up playing baseball, umpiring baseball and softball, and something I always wanted to do, did it. There, I met my best friend. My best friend was a addict, an alcoholic, like a junkie, right? Like hardcore. But he was a functioning junkie. He was his best self when he was high.
Oh, man.
And so in talking to him, the smartest individual I've ever met in my life, by the way, I was talking to him about it. And at that point in my life, I was still, drugs are bad. These things are bad, do a 12-step program, do this, do that. There are plenty of ways to do this.
Yeah.
And he was telling me, no, I've done the research. There's a plant called Iboga, that I want to do. Terrence McKenna did a lot of research on it, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, I don't know what the hell you're talking about, dude. But he told me, when I'm ready, that's what I'm going to do. Okay, great. I forget about this. Fast forward, a year, I end up moving I leave the contracting gig. I get a program managing job for the state of Florida Department of Agriculture, running their canine program. I end up moving to Florida, which is where my best friend lives. I end up having a really difficult time trying to find a place.
Yeah.
And I end up getting on Craigslist, of all places, to try and find a place, because everybody in Miami is scamming down it, right?
Oh, God, yeah.
And I meet this woman on Craigslist who has the only what looks like legitimate link to a place to live. And she's looking for women only. And I respond to her, hear me out. I have all the references. I got references out my ass. I'm in the middle of 2 sisters.
I'm not crazy.
I will take a background check, do whatever you need to. Your place looks awesome. I'm safe, whatever. We end up having a great 3-hour conversation. She invites me down to check the place out. We like each other. It's great. She says her husband works in Costa Rica. He's kind of a practitioner of sorts, and he goes back and forth, which is why they're looking for a roommate. I said, okay, great. So I do a Zoom call with him. He's a former Marine.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
His name's Anthony.
Yeah.
And we have this great. He's from Brooklyn. And he's got this great energy about him. Him and I have a great conversation via Zoom, because he's in Costa Rica at the time, and they talk and they offer me the spot. And I ended up living there for 3 years. And in that time, I knew that Anthony had done this stuff, but I didn't really know I wasn't paying attention.
Yeah.
Right.
What the stuff was.
Right. All I knew is that he's doing some, plant medicine stuff down in Costa Rica that's not legal here.
Uh-huh.
Meanwhile, I'm not connecting these two things with what my best friend has told me and what they're doing.
Yeah.
One day I want to say it was in 2015. This is before Awaken Your Soul was there. This was a previous place that Anthony was working. And Tim, my best friend, calls me up and says, "Hey, I think I'm ready." I said, "Great. What do we got to do?" He goes, "I just can't afford the retreat. So, like, what's this thing called again that you want to do?" He says, "Iboga." I said, and then it clicked.
Wow.
So wait a second. Give me a second. Give me a second. I run out in the other room. I said, "What's this thing that Anthony does down in Costa Rica?"
Mm-hmm.
It's Iboga. Okay. All right.
There's the universe.
Wow.
That's a God winks. Yeah.
Like, holy shit. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So I give Anthony a call and I say, "Hey, my buddy, give him the story." And we worked out a deal and we got my buddy down into treatment.
Awesome.
And so that's the first time that I made the connection and that I really understood it.
Yep.
Tim came back much a different person. He never touched opioids again. He could not kick the alcoholism.
Wow.
So he never touched opioids again for the rest of his life. He passed away 2 years ago in a car accident. But
man,
that up to that time, he was sober off opioids.
But it knocked the opioids. If folks listen to that, I mean, people have absolute horror stories of not being able to kick the opioids. And this ain't anecdotal. This is a firsthand account. If you have any questions, watch the movie, the documentary Dosed with my buddy Trevor. I mean, it's not a magic pill, folks, but it's going to give you a system reset. And if you elect not to, the Iboga is going to give you some Afterburner, man. That's great. But I've heard similar stories. It'll destroy the opioids, but some folks with the alcohol has a pretty tough time. I mean, I was not a good drinker after my first Ibogaine experience. It made me physically ill to look at alcohol. So thank God for 8 months at least, it knocked it out of me. So it helped him. Did you around that time say, "Hey, I should do this," or was it a longer sales process?
No, it was a longer process. Still, I was still. I was scared. I mean, if I'm being really honest, I was scared.
Mm-hmm.
I've never done any hard drugs in my life. The most I've ever done in my life, I smoked weed a few times, like back in the day, right?
Sure.
I mean, even around that time, I smoked a bowl once or twice with some friends socially, right?
Yeah.
But there's never something I ever did regularly. The thought of losing control has terrified me my whole life. That's why I was always the DD when I went to parties in high school. That's why I was always the driver on road trips. Not having control has always terrified me. And so something like going on a journey such as that is absolutely terrifying.
Yep.
So Amber and Anthony had asked me to do it. I lived with them for 3.5 years, and I'm very fortunate in my experience because many people, and you're going to experience this, you're going to go down there and you're going to meet Anthony, and you're going to, have this encounter and this experience and whatever. I'm very fortunate that Anthony and Amber knew me intimately. They knew what I was like when I was home. Yeah. They knew my dating life. They knew my work life. I lived with them for 3.5 years.
Yeah, family essentially.
So they definitely saw the struggles that I was going through socially, emotionally. And they really tried to convince me to do it. And I just wasn't ready.
Mm-hmm. And
finally, when I was ready, I have sleep apnea. That started in the military. Still not service connected for that.
Exactly.
Anthony had not dealt with that before. And so we opted not to do it until he got more clear on how that would interact with my sleep apnea.
Sure.
So we kind of put that off. I ended up moving up to New York, New Jersey area, and life just got harder and everything started compounding. I was having problems with my family. Every time I go and visit, I was on this emotional roller coaster. I'd go from happy to angry to sad to like just rapidly. Right. And I'd have these weird outbursts that were very out of character for me. And it got to a point, I called them up and I said, I think I'm ready, because I felt like it was, something's got to give and I can't put a gun in my mouth.
Yeah.
So what am I going to do? So
the medicine did call. You did listen eventually.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll never forget that phone call. It was very eye-opening, very soul-opening. It was like, okay, you have to open up to this, and if you're going to do it, you got to do it all the way.
Yeah.
So I went down, and I kept fighting my service connection. I got 30% in 2014. I kept fighting. And in 2019, I got 100%. I went back to work as a federal police officer working canine. I was working for the DOD.
Oh, okay.
And I was working back with the Department of the Navy. I was actually working on a military base. I was essentially back in the military as a civilian. And you want to talk about being triggered. You want to talk about just, it was insane.
Here we go
the
again.
Experience that I had there. And it really pushed me down into, and it made me, I was not a good coworker. I was not a good
human
teammate. Yeah. And in that, I'm just in a professional capacity, especially in that realm, you have to be.
Yeah.
You have to be. But, like I cared less and less as every day went on, because I just didn't know how to handle what was happening. And that's when I started figuring out I need to find a way to beat the VA.
Yeah.
I need to start going to therapy. I need to do it outside the VA. I need to do all of my stuff outside the VA and submit a claim, because the VA will not listen to me.
No.
So I finally got my 100% in 2019, and I resigned in January of 2020, and I went to Iboga in January of 2020.
Wow, what a great timeline, man! That happened exactly as the universe. It sounds like the path was in front of you. You just needed to start walking it, man. All right, so take us. I love talking to folks about their experience. Take us through Iboga 1, man. What and I've done Ibogaine. I've done Iboga yet, obviously. So I'm looking forward to stepping into the medicine. What did the medicine give us? The bottom line up front. Let's start 100,000 feet, and then you can get tactical if you want. What is your Iboga 1 bluff bottom line up front?
It's tough, because you're going down there and you get the prep work. You got to fill out the booklet. You got to fill out the pamphlet. Yeah. Please eat clean, cleanse your body, prep your temple, be ready.
Yeah.
And you go down there with intentions, and you think you know what it is you need to work on. Right. And you
it's
go down there
something to deviate from. I mean, I'm sure you did the same thing I did. I treated it like a combat mission, man. Like you said, the manual and the diet. I mean, we're pretty squared away, but it turns out it's just something to deviate from, because the medicine's going to show
wrong.
you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And they tell you that up front, right?
Yep.
You might have intentions. You might know what you think you need to work on. What you think you need to work on might not be the thing that actually needs to be addressed. The medicine will show you what it is that you have to deal with first.
I love
maybe what your intention is comes later on down the road.
Correct.
But there might be some deeper things that you are unconsciously not dealing with that need to be cleared up first, and the medicine will go find those things and let you know about them for sure. Yeah. So when I got down there, the cohort that I was there with, I want to say it was about 9 or 10 people.
Mm-hmm.
And the first day we're there, we're, all introducing each other, ourselves to each other. And we're kind of going around telling our, not in depth our stories, but just what our journey has been with plant medicine thus far.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, have you been to this retreat? I went to that retreat, blah, 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 blah. And as everybody went around, they all have done ayahuasca, they've done combo, they've done UFA, they've done whatever it is that's out there, they've done it. And what surprised me was that some people have been to, I was there with a father-daughter combo who had been to like 30 ayahuasca retreats.
Oh, wow. Whoa.
I'm like, holy moly, 30 of them. And that's not uncommon, apparently.
With ayahuasca, I've heard that too. Yeah.
Right. But that just didn't sit right with me. I'm like, why?
Yeah, why? Am I screwed?
Why you got to go so often?
Correct.
Like, are you...
Mm-hmm.
Anyway.
Yes.
So they get around to me and I'm like, hi, I'm Mike. I smoked weed a few times.
Hi, Mike.
Yeah. And they're like, wait. You've never done anything and you're going straight to Iboga? I was like, yep.
Buckle up.
Yep, that's exactly. They're like, wow, dude, you're in for a ride, I think, because at this point, nobody there had done it either, right?
No,
but they did know that this is like the Cadillac of, this is the grandfather of plant medicine.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah.
This is where you go to really look yourself in the mirror.
Correct.
And so going into it, I was terrified, because you don't know. My worst, rationally in my head, my worst fear was I'm going to go freak out. I'm going to end up naked in the jungle somewhere and the jaguar is going to eat me. So I was like, listen, make sure that I keep all my clothes on and I don't go anywhere,
Tank the tank.
It's not going to be a problem.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not going to be a problem. Trust me. I'm like, okay, all right. That's my biggest fear,
Yes.
But through all of it, something that I learned very quickly and I needed to embrace very quickly was that I needed to let go. I needed to understand that I don't know what I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And I need to lean into this.
Yeah.
I've been fighting everything my whole life.
Mm-hmm.
I need to stop fighting something.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm here to get help. And if I really want to help myself, then I can't fight the help, no matter how uncomfortable it makes me.
Yeah.
No matter how far outside my comfort zone I go.
Mm-hmm.
One of my favorite quotes, I don't know who said it, but your comfort zone's a lovely place to be, but nothing ever grows there.
Exactly.
So I that's one of the things that I've learned there and I carry with me every day is I have to lean into the hard.
Yeah. I love that. That's a great way to put it, man. Because whether you're a fighter pilot or a military dog handler, we got to be in control. That absolute. If I'm not in control, dude, that drives guys like you and I nuts. And then the medicine will reveal to you that you do. You have to. And when I actually teach guys the fly formation, people freak out really close to another airplane, right? I'm like, dude, let go, wiggle your fingers and your toes on the stick and the throttle, man. Ease up a little bit. It's kind of what the medicine showed to me. It was like, dude, everything's okay. Even when it's not, everything is okay. It gave me this sense of serenity. My wife, the podcast she did, I called it, It's Fine. She's like, it's fine. The medicine showed me that things are fine. So how was I know you stepped into the medicine twice at Awaken Your Soul. Were they similar? What was the actual journey like?
So the journey for me, the first time. So when you go there, you do 2 ceremonies, right? So technically speaking, I've done Iboga 4 times.
True.
Right?
Yeah.
2 retreats, 2 times each.
Uh-huh.
After the first round of the first retreat was really rough. It was really, really rough on me. Yeah.
Okay.
Looking back on it, I got so much out of that first one, so much.
Mm-hmm.
But physically, it was very difficult.
Okay.
I tell people all the time who are considering this, look, I've done a lot of things in my life. this is the hardest thing I've ever done emotionally, physically, mentally.
Wow. Yep.
You have to want this.
Yeah.
You have to want this. I took away a lot from that first session.
Mm-hmm.
This and the very next morning when I was talking with Amber, I remember just telling her, I was like, I don't think I can do the second round. I don't think I'm going to. And she said, that's your decision. The day of, you make that decision. You're not the first person to say that.
Mm-hmm.
You probably will change your mind, but if you don't, you won't be the first person to not do the second round.
No
right?
pressure. Yeah.
And I had it in my head that the rest of that week, there's no way I'm doing that again. There's no way.
Describe it for people who are like, that doesn't sound like fun.
And everybody's a little bit different in how they, in what they perceive as uncomfort, right? Or discomfort.
Exactly. Yep.
So for me, one of the worst things in the world for me is motion sickness, right? Okay. Especially being seasick. Oh, it is the worst, and it never ends. It's like it's like a living death sentence. It's horrible, and that's what that experience was for me.
Okay,
because it you kind of get those trackers where you turn your head and then everything kind of follows.
Yeah.
You kind of lose your legs in this, so you're laying on a mattress in a ceremony space. You have your blindfold on. They give you the blindfold for a reason. Yeah. Because if you don't have that blindfold on, you're going to get sicker quicker.
Correct.
Everybody's got their bucket. Yeah. You got a bucket, So that was the hardest thing for me physically was the nausea, the throwing up, the purging.
Yep.
And something I didn't understand and until probably the second retreat was what it is you are physically purging.
Yes.
Right? People think you're just purging whatever you have in your system.
Yeah, I feel ill. No. Yeah.
There is a true energy purge, and I'll address that in my second retreat. Mm-hmm. But coming up to the second one, there's a gap in between. There's about 3 days in between your first retreat, your second retreat. The day after is a day of silence. Mm-hmm. You can talk to the facilitators. You're not supposed to really talk to each other because you're processing a lot that day.
Yeah.
That morning, I went down and laid by the pool they have there, which is right next to a waterfall, a natural waterfall. And I laid there all day. And when I was finally able to physically bring myself to sit up and be present for a moment, it was the first time in my life that I was able to have silence in my head. I didn't have the 1,000 different streams of information and thoughts and whatever else going through my head. The anxiety had completely gone away. Peace. And I was sitting there, and I'll never forget this. There was a spider and a butterfly next to each other on the wall. And I just sat there and I stared at them. Had to be for 40 minutes without a thought in my head.
Yeah.
And I remember this one thought coming into my head, and I just said, not now. And I was able to do that. Yeah. And it was incredible. I've never been able to do that in my life.
Wow.
3 days in between, they have a lot of things there. They have writing sessions, breathing sessions, yoga, you name it, like things that you like that actively work on your consciousness and your healing. And one of the facilitators there at the time, and I hope she's there when you're there. Her name is Raven. She's there for some retreats. She's not there for other retreats.
Okay.
She conducted a writing session. And the whole time you're waiting for this emotional breakthrough to happen, that you're,
I'm healed.
You see other people.
Yeah.
And you see other people do it and have it, and other people don't, and you're just waiting. And I'm just like, I thought it was going to come during yoga when you have the music and serenity and all.
Yeah.
Start writing this letter to myself. Right. And that was the assignment. Write a letter to yourself. And I think I got through 2 sentences. And the letter said, "Thank you for not giving up. You need to be here." Something along those lines.
Yeah.
And I signed it, "Love you."
Oh, man.
And in that moment when I wrote that, I realized the duality of that ending, "Love you."
Yes.
That's a statement to me.
Yeah.
And a statement for me.
For me. Yeah. Wow.
So that was kind of perception shifting.
Mm-hmm.
And I lost my shit right there at the table in front of everybody.
Baby.
Like,
yeah,
and it was like a sup ugly cry.
Yeah.
Right. It was, but also in that moment, that's where you experience true strength.
Healing.
Because when you're that vulnerable in front of other people and you realize there is no other option, this is coming out.
Correct.
And you have to embrace that.
Yep.
But then you have the support and love of everybody around you to uphold you.
And their energy too. They're going through the similar energy. Yeah.
Absolutely. And it's absolutely shifting, like view shifting in how you then feel things around people moving forward.
Yes.
Right. So coming into the second session, I was like, I'm good. I'm not doing this again. Everybody was like, "No, you're doing this again. You got to do this. We are here together." And really, it was that team mentality that really urged me to do that second round. That second round was a lot easier than the first round, but still kind of rough. So going into the second retreat, though, I went in with so much confidence. I was like, I got this. I think I've done the work. Because you go home, you still have a lot of work to do at home. It's not, like you said, it's not a magic pill.
Correct.
People go there and think, I'm going to do this and I'm going to be healed.
Nope.
And that's not it.
Correct.
It's a new work assignment.
Yes.
It's a new way to live your life. And you have to do the work, right?
Yeah.
So I took a year. And the following October, I went back. And I did my second round. Because I knew that there was more work that needed to be done.
Yes.
And, I went in with so much confidence. And that first trip that I did was so smooth. I had none of the sickness. I had none of it.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Through the actual ceremony, I had none of the sickness. I had a little rumbling in my belly. And that was fine. I woke up the next morning and that's when the sickness came. It's going to get you one way or the other, but that's when the sickness came. But it wasn't anything that was terrible. It wasn't anything that was horrible. So we do the integration group in between the sessions. And I'm telling the circle, I really think that I'm doing this right. The medicine really worked with me. I really feel like I got a handle on this. I'm gonna, move. We're gonna just rock through this.
I'm good.
I'm good. Yeah.
Yeah.
The second trip, same thing, very smooth, right? Until that next morning. That next morning rocked my world.
Wow. Okay.
Rocked my world. I could not stop purging. Everybody else is already starting into their recovery day and whatever. And I'm just getting into the weeds. So I'm out there in the lawn with my bucket and it's just energy. I have nothing in me to purge anymore. Yeah. And this is when I really learned through experience that it's energy that's held in you that you have to get out of you. Right. I could not stop that horrible dry heave that feels like it's going to break your spine.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was so intense. Amber came over to me. Everybody else is kind of whatever. Again, I'm very grateful that I have that relationship with Amber and Anthony, that they know me so well, that in that last big heave that I had a flashback to my childhood. And I saw all the times in my life from my childhood up through my adulthood that people had treated me poorly, had talked poorly about me, had picked on me or bullied me, and that I adopted their views of me.
Mm.
And I was so upset with myself. How could I let myself treat myself so poorly?
Yeah.
And that last heave was letting that go.
Wow.
I have never, you see in movies when people lose a loved one and they're just screaming and inconsolable. That was me.
Wow.
I'm sure that I scared some of those howler monkeys in the jungle somewhere because I was letting it was out.
Cathartic, man. Wow. And it was gone.
It was gone. It was gone. It was gone.
How many decades had you been carrying that subconsciously, though? You probably didn't think about your childhood, some bully for fucking 20, 30 years. And here you are.
30 years.
Those demons, 30, like the movie
years.
Ghost, like the black ghost kind of leaving in them. Oh, wow, man.
And, this is kind of I'm really giving you cliff notes here. One of the biggest aspects of this journey is your inner child work.
Yeah.
Okay.
So true.
And when I had never done inner child work before, anytime you hear somebody talk about inner child work, you're like, what kind of kooky, weird stuff is that? Let me tell you what, I did that in my first retreat.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a game changer.
Yeah.
That was a true game changer. And that set me up for the second retreat.
Good.
Which allowed me to address not only just how poorly I had treated myself and the image of myself that I took on,
mm-hmm.
Which allowed me or enabled me. That's why I was a people pleaser for so long.
Sure.
That's why I just wanted everybody to like me. I don't care why. Why do you not like me? Like me.
Exactly.
So once you address that and really understand your value, you're able to start seeing a lot of the people that you allowed your energy to be handled by are not worth the energy that you are giving them.
So this is so cool, man. So it's almost like two journeys. There's a journey of your quote normal life that kind of gets you to the medicine. And then once you experience and step into the medicine, that's its own separate journey. So it sounds like yours were actually kind of interconnected. The first time was maybe even a pre-flight for the next one.
Absolutely. And I think you saw I commented on your post the other day on Instagram, and I want to make the connection here to the military, right? The traumas that we experience. Right. Whatever you consider to be trauma is trauma. It is valid because you are the only person who lives your life. So what is traumatic to you might not be traumatic to somebody else. And what's traumatic to somebody else might not be traumatic to you, which is why you cannot compare your traumas.
Yeah. Thank you, brother.
Right.
Yep. That's so true.
And what our traumas are pre-military exist. Those are real things. Right. But what they do is they set you up. The military exacerbates them, gives you some new ones, and then sends you on your way with all this new refurbished luggage, along with a few new bags.
Well, not only refurbished, but like you said at the beginning, you got to hack it, embrace the suck. Push that shit down, man. We got to press forward. Compartmentalize. Put that stuff in the little boxes and deal with it later. Well, when's later?
Right.
Later. Not now. Later. Well, you never
not on the government's time.
Exactly. Not our time.
Figure that shit out on
your time. And we're not going to give you any money or any help to do that. And that's why we're on this podcast today. We have no fallen heroes and foundations that have to do this work that the VA we'll put this out to the universe as like a super tanker doing 30 knots is slowly turning. The fact that we love Amber and Anthony, but the fact that we have to go to fucking Costa Rica to heal a United States service member is a disgrace. How about we heal Americans in America and make some changes? So the second retreat, was that the one that Nicole was on?
Yeah, the second retreat was the one that Nicole was on, and we met the first night there. Again, we kind of had an intro of everybody kind of went around and just socialized and whatever. And Nicole introduced herself to me actually, and I introduced myself and said, I'm a veteran. I was in the Marine Corps, and then she went off on this. Oh, we got to talk.
Yeah,
we got to talk.
Oh,
I was
good.
like, okay, cool.
Oh, that's awesome.
Nicole, interestingly enough, while we were there, Nicole was on her own journey and really embraced and leaned into everything.
Yeah.
I don't remember a lot of Nicole being around that week because she was really, really deep diving into her stuff on her own, away from the group, because there's a lot of socializing that goes on there.
Yeah.
Nicole really was doing her thing, and I applaud her for that, because it's tough work to do, and especially for me, I'm a very social person, and I thrive off helping others, right? Like that's really what I believe that's my purpose here in life, is to help others, and specifically now working with disabled veterans or veterans of any kind.
Yeah.
So having that socialization period, those socialization periods there at the retreat was very helpful for me and helpful for other people. But I'm glad that Nicole recognized that it wasn't going to be helpful for her, and she committed to herself. Yeah. So her and I stayed in contact, and we've formed a friendship, and I'm glad that she brought me here to you.
Oh yeah, man.
So this is a great thing you're doing. And it falls right in line with what I'm doing. I don't know if you can see my shirt.
Give us, I was going to ask you about that. Give us a brief with what you're doing and how you're pitching into the fight to save our brothers and sisters. You're putting the ladder down.
I went out to New York and finished my bachelor's degree and my master's degree in my 30s, as many veterans do. And I went to John Jay College of Criminal Justice. They have an awesome military and veterans association there. It's run by a man by the name of Richard Pusateri. He's a retired Navy captain. That's an 06 for, I believe that's an 06, right?
Yeah.
In the Navy. Yep. I get those Navy
Marine
folks,
Navy. Yeah. He's a colonel.
Yeah, there you go. He's a full bird.
Yes.
He's retired. He runs that office there. He is very connected with the veteran community in New York City. And so I found that space as a safe space while I was doing my schooling. I ended up doing my work study in that office. And that's really where I found my passion for helping veterans. I worked there in an official and unofficial capacity for the last 6 years. I want to say I teach at that college now.
Oh, awesome.
That's really, we have the largest active military and veteran community in New York.
Awesome.
At that school. So I want to say there's over 500 active students there that are either active duty, guard, in ROTC or veteran.
Man,
so
that's like its own squadron. It's its own battalion.
It's pretty awesome.
That's pretty cool.
Awesome.
Well, bro, if there's anybody up there who needs help, send them my way. If they need help stepping into the medicine, what would be what's your biggest takeaway for the medicine work for you personally? But what would be one of the big things if this resonated with anybody and they're starting to hear the medicine calling to them? What's that one piece of advice you take from your journey that you would, hey man, here's a good lesson learned from me? So what would those two things be?
That's a loaded question. There's a lot.
That's why I'm the host.
I would tell you that to remember that you are one part of a connected organism of energy, right? We are all one in different meat sacks,
shells,
right? We are energy. We all vibrate on different frequencies, but we're all part of the universe. And you're meant to be here because you are here, right? And without you, this universe wouldn't be what it is. Exactly. So you are here because you're supposed to be here. And 2, lean into the hard. Yeah. Everything everything you want for yourself is on the other side of fear. Everything you want for yourself is on the other side of the hard.
Mm-hmm.
You can lean into the hard, get through it. Life is peaks and valleys. Time doesn't stop.
Yeah.
Right? Which means that there will be a new hard eventually, but there will always be an end to that hard.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's just getting through it.
Yeah, man. Another military saying, the only way through it is through it. And if you're having problems doing that, as we talked about earlier, the medicine is not a cure-all, be-all. It's not a magic pill. There's a lot of, I want to have you back on, man, because I want to talk about your integration too, right? Because I'm running a little short on time. I'd love to have you back, bro, so we can talk integration.
I'd be happy to. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, because, I use the 95-5 ratio. 5% was in Mexico doing the medicine. 95% was the integration. The medicine's a tool, man. It's gonna walk you up to the door and open it, and there's a big fucking mansion with a lot of furniture in there. And if you don't, if you're not good, you're gonna be tripping over furniture, man. And you might want to leave that house, and we definitely don't want to do that. So,
that's exactly what the medicine does. It helps you clean. It's like the first one is a deep clean session where you get all the big boxes and heavy moving out of the way, and the second session is to help you mop the floors and sweep up the remaining dirt.
Exactly.
Helps you compartmentalize. And I really compare it to, if you remember in the early 2000s, you had the desktop computers, the defragmenting. Right? You had to defragment your computer. Yeah. That's really what it is. Yeah. It reconnects neurons in your brain.
It does.
It reconnects pathways that have been disconnected for who knows how long.
Yep.
But in order to make that the most, you have to do the work on the back end.
Yep.
Right? You have to keep up with that. Yeah. You have to do the work.
The brain's a muscle, man. If you're going to let it atrophy, it's going to atrophy, right? But the neuroplasticity of these medicines is just incredible. I love when I talk to scientists about it, and they kind of scratch their chin and they shrug and go, "We don't know how that works, but guess what? It actually does that," right? When I looked at Marcus's brain scans from the VA, and it was dark and black and gray, and 3 months after the ibogaine, it was white. I'm like, okay, dude. He's like, yeah, the VA docs go, yeah, we don't know. I love that answer.
And I part of that is because they haven't been allowed to study it.
Bingo.
Right?
True.
So I saw you use air quotes when you said scientists. It's not that they're not scientists. It's that they're not allowed to be scientists.
Correct. To question. Right?
So why don't they know that?
Correct.
Why don't they know that?
Well,
and it's because they haven't been allowed to.
You and me, brother. This is the mission we're on right now: is getting the word out there, spreading the word, because this is going to come from we the people. I love my sister foundations that put their coat and ties on. They go to DC, do the dinners, and shake the hands of the politicians. Why don't we attack in parallel? This is a you and me. This is us going up. This ain't the VA coming down or the senators in Congress. This has got to be a we. And if we can heal we the people, maybe the government, which was founded by we the people, will start to wake up and go, wow, these people are healing and getting smart on themselves. Unless they're like Richard Nixon in the 70s, where they don't want us to heal and be free thinkers, but that's a different story. My brother, go ahead.
I was going to say on that note, I agree with you 100%. It's from bottom up, right? Bottom up management. And it's not that, and I think top down isn't a real thing in our government, because we have the ability here to be up there. That's Correct. The beauty of our government, right?
Yeah.
Is that you can go run for office and you can go be making those calls.
Exactly.
But if we're not willing to do the work down here, we have a lot of competition in old money and old politics,
big pharma.
But when we're down here and we're working together, we can get up there and make those calls.
I love that, man. That's perfect, bro. That's exactly right. Lead, follower, get out of the way. And if I got to lead from the back, I don't mind leading from behind, man, because waking up every day, there's no more noble purpose or calling than saving lives. If you and I can just save one lady, one dude, Holy shit, man. The universe, like you just said beautifully, is a much better place with you in it. Bro, how can, if people have, what's your Instagram or email, or if you don't mind giving that, if people have questions or would love to talk to you?
You can find me. I have a private profile, but if you just add me, I'll check you out and make sure you're safe. Mikey Saturday, Mikey _Saturday, MIKEY _Saturday, like the day.
Mm-hmm.
You can email me at Mikey Saturday without the underscore at gmail.com. Yeah, those are my two big spots. And then you can find me on LinkedIn.
Awesome, bro. All right, Mike, go Birds. When we get back from Costa Rica, I want to have you back on because I do want to talk about your integration and stuff like that, because it is, we covered, like you said, the cliff notes of kind of the journeys. But again, 5% was there. 95% was what you did at home. And I really want to dig into some of that more, if that's okay.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me on. I really appreciate it. And I look forward to doing a more deep dive into this.
You got it, bro. Friday. I'm leaving next Friday, so do me a favor and send a little close air support if you can. Close your eyes on the 2 medicine days and hook a brother up, because I'm going to be in it. So I appreciate it. All right, folks. Yeah, man, that's a wrap. All right. Have a great rest of your day. Happy hunting. Make sure you hedge. God bless. Fights on. And namaste.